Welcome everybody to our Moving Forward, Finishing Fall and Previewing the Spring webinar. This is a webinar that we are hosting for ASU students and their families. And my name is Katie Packwood and I will be your host for the day. And if we could move to the next slide, I will give us a little bit of background about what we're going to cover today and then also introduce our other webinar hosts. And let's start with Fred Corey. Fred, could you say hello and introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm delighted to be here. My name is Fred Corey, and I'm Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education.
Thanks, Fred. Dr. Cassandra Aska?
Good afternoon, everybody. Cassandra Aska, and I serve as the Deputy Vice President and Dean of Students here at the Tempe campus. Good to have you all today.
And last but not least, Quinlan Ashlock, one of our student panelists.
Hello, everyone. I'm Quinlan Ashlock, junior studying elementary education. I'm also the president of the Programming Activities Board.
Thanks, Quinlan, for joining us today. I wanted to just give a little bit of background about today's webinar. We are very aware of the impacts of COVID-19, recognize that they're ongoing, and we understand that our students are going to need continued flexibility in terms of where and how you'll attend classes in the spring. We are planning to offer spring courses in a variety of learning environments to accommodate your needs, very similar to what we're doing this fall. So we will be offering in-person classes, we'll be offering classes via ASU Sync, remote classes that are delivered through Zoom, and we will also be offering iCourses, which are courses that are delivered 100% online. Today, we're going to be talking about topics related to finishing the fall semester, ways that you can stay engaged over winter break, and we're also going to offer a little preview about the spring semester. The first 20 to 30 minutes of this webinar are going to be a discussion around some of the most frequently asked questions that we're hearing from students and families about finishing the fall semester and the upcoming spring semester. We will take live questions from Zoom webinar registrants only during the remaining 30 minutes of your webinar. So we encourage you to ask your questions after the first 15 to 20 minutes of discussion in case your question is already answered. You can type your questions in the Q&A function, and we'll see them there. We will not be answering questions via the chat function. Anyone watching the live stream on YouTube can send any unanswered questions to deanofstudents@asu.edu. And we are recording this webinar and we will post it on our spring 2021 page afterwards. You can see the URL right there. It's asu.edu/about/spring-2021. That's a mouthful. All right, let's talk about finishing fall 2020. If we go to the next slide. What is the academic schedule for the end of the semester and after Thanksgiving break? Fred, if you could take this one.
Absolutely. So after Thanksgiving, we will be in a remote mode. So if you were attending class in person after Thanksgiving, we are going to make the shift to going remote. So that would be November 29th through December 4th is the last week of the semester. If your professors are having final exams, they will administer them during that week, that last week of the semester. So the semester will conclude on December 4th.
Great. Thanks, Fred. Next slide. What services will be available to support students finishing the fall semester? Dr. Aska?
So we definitely want our students to continue to utilize the services that have been made available for them. So we know they're focused on their academics and finishing that strong. So taking advantage of our tutoring services, taking advantage of first year success that also has success coaching for our students for any academic standing that they have, and to be able to continue to outreach to their faculty members and to their peers in their small groups in order to support them academically in preparation for their finals. You know, as always, we have our counseling services that are available for students, as well as the Dean of Students office is available. If students have questions or concerns and trying to finish out their semester, they can certainly reach out to us. So collectively, all of our services are still fully available for our students, and we're all here to support.
Fred, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to underscore what Dean Aska was saying, that this is a great time right now to take advantage of the tutoring, of the writing center, of all of the services that are available. And we offer them in person and through ASU Sync. So you can make an appointment to come in person, or you can take advantage of them remotely. So please do.
And I also will add, Katie, utilizing our study spaces in our libraries across all of our locations is also a great resource if students are looking for someplace, quiet to come and spend some quality time studying and so forth, to consider all of the services and resources in all of our libraries.
Great, thanks so much. Let's go to the next slide. What is there to do on campus for the rest of the fall semester? We've got a couple weeks left. The weather's turning, and I know more students and people in general are excited to sort of get outdoors and see what there is to do. So Cass, tell us what's happening on campus.
Sure, and I'm not going to steal all of Quinlan's thunder here, but I'm so happy that we're having this webinar today because it's a culmination of our Salute to Service weekend, along with Family Weekend, as well as our first kickoff for our football game that is tomorrow, and there's activities planned around that. So let me pass it on to Quinlan and the next slide, who will kind of really share with you where students are in their experiences on campus and how they're planning on finishing out the semester strong with celebrating in Sun Devil spirit, pride, and tradition.
So yes, just like Dean Aska said, we have lots of exciting things happening this weekend as well as for the rest of this semester. So our exciting game day viewing party on Tempe campus, we will be on the SDFW field, so the Sun Devil Fitness and Wellness Center field. And students will be sitting in pods of 4 people in each pod. So we'll be able to celebrate together safely outside, to feel that Sun Devil spirit, pride, and tradition for our first game day of the year, which is very exciting for all of us. For PAB, we have been having our weekly music series events and weekly Monday movie nights. These are on-campus, in-person events and as well as online and virtual events too. And these are a great way to get involved safely, to have some fun activities to do, but from painting to watching movies to listening to live music, just to do something else besides school and outside of studying, to get that fun and that engagement in as well, which is still very important for all of us as students to have those fun activities to do. There's also some stress relieving activities this week. We have had a lot of programming. The silent disco yoga and golf are all options for students these next coming weeks.
What is silent disco yoga? Have you done it, Quinlan?
I have not. It sounds very exciting. The silent disco is where students wear headphones and listen to music, and they can switch different channels. And so
Got it.
Everyone does yoga and listens to whatever music they want.
Okay.
And you can see the people around you listening to different stations.
I gotta tune in for that.
Now, Katie, I've seen students at silent disco, and it's absolutely hilarious, whether you're listening to the music or not, because everybody's listening to whatever music is their favorite, and they're dancing to their beat. So it's quite a fantastic viewing experience, and our students really, really enjoy that. And the nice thing is that our viewing parties are at all of our locations for our students, which is great. And students just finished having some, pumpkin decorating activities and so forth. And to your point, Katie, really taking advantage of the outdoor experience, and couldn't be prouder of our programming activities board for how they're continuing to plan safely for our students, for them to have experiences in person, but very much keeping in mind the student who wants to participate virtually, if that's what's most comfortable for them.
And all of our events are through Sun Devil Sync. So not just PAB, but all of our organizations are through Sun Devil Sync. We have registration for each of the events to make sure that the in-person events are under 50 people, to keep them safe with certain event guidelines that all of our organizations are operating under. So if you are nervous about coming in person, we encourage you to come out and see how it is, and then you can decide if you are feeling safe in those in-person events as well.
That's awesome. What is the best website for students to go to see what's coming up and what activities they can participate in? Is there a particular web address, Quinlan or Cass, that we can share?
The
Yep.
Sun Devil Sync website. I
And
think
it's later on in the slide deck too. So.
okay.
Okay, good. All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much. Let's go to the next slide. All right, well, now we're going to transition to winter break and talk a little bit about what the university has planned for winter break. So let's head into the next slide. So we've got a couple of new and fun and exciting things planned for winter break, and Fred is going to tell us more about Innovation Week and Innovation Quarter. Fred?
We have a very exciting winter break planned. The first week, this would be December 7th through 11th, is what we call Innovation Week. And this is a journey. What is innovation? How do I develop these tools and skills needed for innovation? How can I become a more innovative person? And so this is a series of workshops and keynotes and programming designed to help each and every one of us become more innovative in our careers, in our lives, in our education, in our just our daily practice. Then beginning December 11th, we begin Innovation Quarter. And this is going to be a set of about 125 different events, programs, activities that people can participate in. Now, the schedule is going to be coming out, but to give you a sense of what we're talking about, some of the events are based in professional development. So maybe you're thinking about going to law school or graduate school, and you would like to talk to somebody about how you should prepare for law school. Other kinds of development, career and professional services. We'll be holding seminars and workshops on finding an internship, on resume writing, on getting ready for the interview. We also have a set of events that are designed around community service and engaging in the community. How can we make the world we live in a better place? And then we have a set of really cool programs that are in the academic space. So one of them, for example, is in history. We're in a period right now where we are creating history, and the faculty in the School of Historical, Philosophical, and Religious Studies are putting into place a diary program where you keep a diary because you are making history right now. And so you contribute to the documentation of this time that we're living in so that your ideas, your thoughts, your experiences will live well beyond 2020 and become a part of history. We have book clubs, we have movie nights, we have esports, new games and technology. We've got a really exciting lineup coming, and the schedule is not finalized yet, so we can't tell you exactly what is going to be happening when, but it's going to be very soon that this is going to get announced.
And innovation.asu.edu is the site to go to see the schedule when it's live and register, right? That's the right URL, Fred?
Yes.
And does this cost anything for ASU students?
No. This is for ASU students, and it's for you, and there is no charge.
Okay. Well, it sounds very innovative. I'm excited. Next slide. Couple questions about whether or not dining in Sun Devil Fitness Centers will be open over winter break. Cass, can you tell us?
Yeah, this is a great question. And, every time we go into winter break, we always transition into winter break hours, which means that, students will have dining options. They will continue to be able to use the recreation center, and that'll just be our winter break hours. And so, our students have been taking advantage of our Sun Devil Fitness Center. We have a reservation process for our students between whether it's classes or utilizing the equipment themselves. Even the pool is available through a reservation process for our students. So those things will continue to be available for our students during the winter break, as always transitioning to our winter break hours.
Okay, next slide. So a lot of our students are going to have family that are visiting during the holidays, and we've already started to receive questions about whether or not ASU's COVID-19 testing is going to be available to the public. And if it is it free? Cass, can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, yes. We have been providing testing and free testing for our students as well as for community members at large. And so that will continue for us at the university. And so we have the information that's available there for folks to go and register. We want you to make an appointment so you know where you're going, what time you're going, and to be prepared for that. So yes, we invite you to take advantage of that resource that we have that's available throughout the community.
So to be clear, our testing that's available on campus is for students and employees only, but we run a large number of community sites, even in the Tempe area. Their sites, quite frankly, statewide. So no matter where you're going to be, you can take advantage of ASU's testing. But that website on your slide right there will take you to a page where you can register for community testing as well. And so we really encourage everybody to take advantage of it. Okay, next slide. All right, we're now going to transition into spring and talk a little bit about what life on campus and what academics are going to look like for spring 2021. Next slide. So Fred, this one's for you. Tell us, how will the ASU Sync experience be different in the spring?
So just as baseline, ASU Sync is when we use the Zoom technology, and students are given the option oftentimes to either be in person in the classroom or remotely with the instructor and learning remotely. So a few big changes are coming forward for the spring. One is we've really invested in a lot of new technologies to improve the sound quality in the rooms. What we discovered in the fall was that if I'm a student in a classroom and I'm saying something, that the people who were remote oftentimes could not hear me. So in order to improve that, what we've done is we've invested in a lot of microphones that are being dropped from the ceilings to improve the quality of sound throughout the experience. With some of our top rated rooms, we've also created a sort of one button feature where the instructor goes in and it's just one button and everything is pre-programmed to be working correctly. One of the things that we ran into in the fall was that we didn't exactly know how to use all of the equipment on day one. I'm teaching a class. I ran into this myself. I walked into the classroom. I thought I knew exactly how everything was going to work, but in truth, there were some buttons that I couldn't quite figure out and I was fussing around. So we're trying to improve the quality of that experience. Plus, we just have more experience now, right? I mean, I think that students and faculty have more experience working in these platforms. And so naturally, we're educated people, and so we learn, and so we are getting better. Another feature that we want to clarify, so in the fall and in the spring, any class that has a capacity of over 115 students will be all sync. This is being done for health and wellness, that we don't want to create large crowds in a classroom. So anything over 115 will be all ASU Sync. We have a handful of classes that are in person only, and these are things like speech and hearing science, some of the physical activity courses, some of the studio-based courses, very few. If you want to know which ones these are, go and read the class notes, and you do that by dropping down on that little arrow on the schedule of classes. So drop down and see, but there are very few, and it's, as I said, it's mostly in speech and hearing, the activity courses, and some studio courses. Otherwise, all classes are available via ASU Sync. So we want to provide you with as many options as we possibly can so that you can learn in the mode that is most comfortable and appropriate for you. So in new technologies, improved technologies, we're getting more experienced. We're taking all classes with a capacity over 115 out of safety. They'll be remote, and there's a handful of classes that are in person only.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that overview. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, talk to us a little bit about this slide. You referenced this.
Oh yeah, perfect. All right, so you see that little arrow like this, there's a gold arrow, and then there's a little arrow like next to college algebra. Click on that, and that will tell you if the course is available, is in person only. So see, it says this class is not available via ASU Sync. If in-person attendance becomes impossible during the semester, the student should explain the circumstances to the instructor. I do want to say that this would not happen in college algebra. So this is a hypothetical example. So this would be not the kind of class that would be in person only. But that's how you find out. You got to click on that little arrow. I know sometimes people don't like to go to that next level down, but just as a general rule, to tell you the truth, I do recommend that you do that, because sometimes there are course details that would be helpful to know. So click on the arrow and learn all you can about the courses you're going to be taking.
All right, next slide. Cass, this I think I'm going to throw to you. Tell us a little bit about how the campus experience will be different in the spring.
Sure.
Go ahead. Sorry, Cass.
No, all good. I want to echo what Fred was saying earlier. I think we've all continued to learn. Our student organizations have become stronger with regards to building their awareness about how they could plan for in-person experiences, as well as our larger student organizations and even our various departments. And so we are planning to continue to provide more immersion experiences for our students, again, continuing to provide them virtual for those that are most comfortable. But that is our goal. And we've learned a lot from this fall semester. We're going to carry that through into the spring semester. You said this earlier, Katie, we have great weather here in Arizona. Our students are definitely taking advantage of continuing to participate in the activities that are available in the outdoor atmosphere through our Sun Devil Fitness Centers. And so that will also continue for our students. And then I know that, Quinlan and her peers are planning on continuing the tradition for various different student events. So I'll let her share a little bit more about what's planned from their viewpoint.
Yeah, so we do have a lot of spring traditions that we have done over the last few years, and we are planning now to figure out how to keep those traditions alive for our students. So the big ticket item for the spring that PAB across all 4 campuses does is our Devilpalooza programming, which is a big concert. Normally, we have an artist come in person. This year, we are still planning, but we're hoping to have viewing parties in person and have opportunities across all 4 campuses, as well as through ASU Sync virtually, for our students to still get that experience. We had some experience 2 weeks ago. We had Charlie Puth at a concert called Inferno Fest, which is another tradition that we kept alive this year. And so just like everyone else is saying, like we are adjusting, we're adapting to this format, and we're still bringing all of this programming. And so continued again through all 4 campuses, our weekly events will also still be happening in the spring, probably even more than they are happening right now in the fall.
So Quinlan, talk a little bit more about your personal experience as a student this semester. I understand that you attended some classes via Sync, you attended some classes in person, and you're obviously very involved sort of in campus life in general, but it'd just be really great, I think, for our webinar participants to hear from you about what that experience was like. How was it going to class in person? How was it taking classes via Sync? And I would just love to hear from you.
I think all of the students that have had experience in person and on Sync, it was definitely nerve-wracking at first. I know I was really nervous that those first few days going in person, but
what
overall,
class did you take in person?
So I'm an education student, so I have 4 in-person classes that are all education methods classes. And so that's an interesting experience for me as well, since I want to be a teacher. in this format, it's interesting to be able to learn those methods classes in this format, because professors are teaching to students in person as well as students online, which gives us a unique experience, whether you're on ASU Sync or whether you're in person. And I think the technology that we have in all of the rooms, just like Fred said, like those are getting improved. But I think even over this fall semester, those were very effective ways for us to be able to still participate with our students on Zoom as well, despite being in different places taking the class.
And you said you were a little bit nervous at first, which is totally understandable. I think as everybody kind of emerged, from their homes and started to go back to the workplace or back to the classroom, nervous is a good way to describe how I think a lot of people were feeling. So just tell us about sort of how that evolved for you, what gave you comfort over time attending class in person?
I think everyone is following the rules, which is definitely helpful. I haven't seen many people on campus not wearing masks. And when we do, there's places to report that to. There's places to take note of that. There's a hand sanitizer almost every 5 feet you can walk around campus. And that also makes me feel safe. I think in person, another cool aspect is that having chairs in classrooms marked off of where you can sit and where you can't sit also is a great way to monitor and to make sure everyone's staying apart from each other. And I think it got better going in person for me as getting more comfortable with being around people as long as everyone is taking those precautions. And so I think taking that chance was a good risk for me, and being in person to have those in-person class experiences still.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Fred, is there anything that you want to add kind of on the academic side? I know we already have some professors who are really trying to take advantage of the outside, environment that we have here. I saw a video recently where we have 2 HIDA professors that were hosting their classes outside. One was I think an opera class, and another one was a trumpet class. So that was pretty neat to see. But I know there is, really there's a lot of communication underway with faculty to encourage them to take advantage of outside spaces, and lots of planning underway. But is anything you want to add?
Yeah, this is why we live in Arizona, right? The weather is going to be beautiful, and we have created 4 outdoor classrooms that are specifically designed for instruction. But we're also working with the University Technology Office to identify spaces across all campuses that have really strong Wi-Fi. And then we're working with the colleges to see what kind of innovative practices we can engage in order to move our classes outside and still let people remote in if they want. So we're working through that. It's beautiful, and I think it could be a whole lot of fun and very interesting.
Great, thanks for sharing. Okay, let's jump to the next slide, please. All right, so getting involved at ASU wherever you are, Quinlan and Cass, you have certainly hit on this, but just talk a little bit more about these websites and other things that students can find, just to get involved.
Sure. The websites are listed there, but I think what's important is for students to continue to seek out the things that interest them and to connect with their peers in those areas. We're hearing a lot from our students that they're finding their niches with their peers, having that peer-to-peer connection, and then experiencing either going to the Memorial Union or going to the fitness centers together, or even being intentional about when they're going to the dining hall and getting their food and sitting outside together in order for them to have those in-person interactions. So that's really good. As we've had in our spring, all of our resources and services will continue to be available for students, whether they're in person or virtual. That is continued to forge forward. And again, like Quinlan said earlier, our student organizations, they are continuing to flourish. We're seeing a lot more participation and engagement because of the various modalities. And so we're anticipating that we're going to continue to see that into the spring semester. So Quinlan, what would you like to add to that?
I think something too, there are opportunities out there for everyone, whether you're in Arizona, whether you're online in Arizona, or out of state, out of country. So it's just up to you to find those opportunities for you. And these websites that are listed are the great websites to show you all of the opportunities that are available. I encourage you, every year we say this to our incoming freshmen to get involved and get involved early. But I think even now, getting involved starting this week, starting next week, starting the first week of spring, it doesn't matter when you get involved, we're always going to be here with this programming for you. And so exploring these websites and finding what is the best fit for you can happen whenever you want that to happen.
Thanks for sharing.
And we're celebrating all of our Heritage Months, and those programs and activities have been having. We have a full schedule of experiences. So it's not only getting involved and getting connected with your interests, but it's also exploring, other cultures and other philosophies and thinking throughout our university environment. We want to continue to cultivate that. And Fran talked about this earlier too. I'm so proud of all of our students and our team who are continuing to think about the community at large, and forging forward with in-person community service activities is absolutely crucial. And that continues to be an opportunity that's available to our students. Again, and if people don't know, this is where we encourage you to connect with the Dean of Students office, or go to your, respective student centers or your departments of student engagement, and start there and say, hey, somebody said I could get involved. Where do I start? So many opportunities. Changemaker Central is open at all of our locations. We have students that are doing TED Talk-like activities on different topics and issues, and are able to actually include their families and friends, because those are being streamed virtually. So a lot of activity that is happening. But to Quinlan's point, if you don't know where to start at these websites, or visit any one of us across any of our locations.
All right, thanks so much. Let's go to the next slide. Big question that's coming our way quite frequently: is spring break canceled? Fred.
And we understand that you want certainty in this very, very uncertain time. As we've heard President Crow express, the coronavirus is here to stay for a while. We don't see an end in sight. So our efforts must be to remain vigilant and to manage it and be resilient. We also acknowledge that changing schedules is stressful and something that we prefer not to do. So we are continuing to monitor the situation, and we are following the recommended health guidelines in making decisions about the academic calendar. And as soon as decisions are made, we will communicate them with you.
All right, thank you. Next slide. Can I still apply to live on campus this spring? Is it only for first-year students? Cass, what's going on with housing?
Absolutely. So yes, students can still choose to apply to live on campus, and we are seeing students make that decision. They've made whatever decision they've needed to make their fall semester, have gone through the experience, and now they're taking that next step for themselves. And yes, they can apply for housing for the spring semester. It is open to all of our students. So students who are upperclassmen can also choose to live on campus. So you only need to go to our housing.asu.edu website, and there you could find additional information about how to go through the process to live on campus with us. I'll also share, during winter break, university housing is open. We do not close during winter break. I know sometimes that's a question that individuals ask. We know students will be making the best decisions for themselves after they go home for Thanksgiving. But for those students who need to stay for whatever reason, housing does not close during winter break.
All right, next slide. Will students still be required to submit a daily health check in the spring? Cass.
Absolutely. One of the things that we've continued to learn is that the consistency in our behaviors help us to better understand and how to operate throughout the COVID, managing this COVID season. And so, yes, all of our students, faculty, and staff will continue to complete the daily health check. I think our team has done a tremendous job by creating a calendar that students can put their information with regards to when they're on campus, when they're not on campus, so they can look at that on their app feature. But we do want our students to not only continue their daily health check, but also to continue to test, like have that be a part of their normal, routine for themselves. And that's their way of being proactive about, monitoring the virus within their environment and within their community. So we are encouraging that everybody test and test regularly, and yes, continue to complete their daily health checks. That's just the norm in our environment. Quinlan, spoke to the hand sanitizer stations that's everywhere. All of those activities and behaviors that we put in place at the beginning of the year, it's continuing to move that forward. That is what we want everybody to do as being part of our community for the benefit of our community and the community at large.
Thanks. Next slide. If I'm living on campus this spring, will I need to get a COVID-19 test before the semester starts? Cass, another one.
Yes. Our students who are living on campus will get more definitive details about what that will look like in the next couple of weeks. But yes, it is clear we are going to be asking all of our students that are living in the residential halls to test within a few days of the first day of classes. And like I said, those details will be coming forward. And, again, for our students, the test is free. The test is available to them. So we're going to be asking them to utilize that free resource through the university in preparation for the spring semester.
Yeah, so it's going to look a little different from the fall for those who, moved in and went through this process in the fall. Again, as Cass said, it's going to be a sort of shorter window, and we are going to ask students to test directly with us here at ASU. So more detail, as she noted, but slightly different from the fall. But yes, students will still need to have to submit a test.
Correct.
Okay, next slide.
Right.
This is just a little bit more about what the requirements for on-campus students will be. As stated, we will be requiring a COVID-19 PCR test specifically on site during a certain, window of time, 1 week period at the start of the spring semester. The PCR saliva test, it's a saliva-based test or a nasal swab test that determines whether or not you currently have the virus. At ASU, we utilize a saliva-based test. And if you're not returning to campus, if you're returning to campus, but you're not living in university housing, as Cass said, we're still strongly recommending that you get tested prior to your arrival on campus. And testing is, as Cass said, just a kind of regular part of our routine amidst COVID-19. And then information about where to access testing is available at that website there. So anything else you want to add on testing, Cass?
No, I think between that and then the next slide, I think we'll cover some more about it, because if you test and you test positive and you're in the hall, we are here to support you. We've learned a lot throughout the fall semester, so we appreciate everybody's, feedback and input, and we've made our own observations and, dealt with some challenges at the beginning of the semester, but collectively as a team and in collaboration with our students have really, evolved what our support looks like for our students when they do test positive. So we had a great group of individuals in our community that came together and created some fun bags with lots of great treats for our students. So, thinking critically about what the experience is if our students test positive. They will continue to have the resource of our ASU Health Services that, our students can call to ask any questions and to get any information. They will continue to be assigned what we call our engager. And these are team members across the university under the Dean of Students Office that reaches out to our students who do test positive and are a resource to them to answer any questions, to coordinate any needs that they may have, to help communicate with faculty if that is what is needed as well. We even have we're organized in order to, if they're needing mail or essential things that they have to receive during the time that they are in isolation. So we've done a lot in order to continue to support our students once we learn that they do test positive. So again, as Katie's saying, we can't encourage this enough. We want students to test, and then when and if they test positive, we are prepared to provide support to our students.
Great, thank you. Next slide. All right, well, that actually concludes our sort of preset list of questions that we have, most frequently asked questions, and we will now move into our live webinar Q&A section, and I've got lots of questions here in front of me. So first question is it safe for students to return to campus after Thanksgiving? Cass, you want to start? And then
Sure.
Fred?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think Fred alluded to this, earlier that we're in a pandemic. So I think all of our routine regimens in order to remain attentive to our health and well-being is important. So our residential halls, like I said, will be open. Campus services will be open, but all of that is taking advantage of, getting tested, utilizing our hand sanitizers, utilizing our health services. If you're not feeling well, then we do ask people to stay home. And so, that is a responsibility that we all have. But yes, it is safe as long as we all take the necessary precautions that we're doing right now. Nothing's changing between now and after Thanksgiving.
Thanks.
And I would add that the campus is open and we've got places. So even though the classes after Thanksgiving will be remote, we're providing lots of spaces, including many classrooms where students can go to take their classes online and complete their assignments with good Wi-Fi.
Okay. This one's for you, Fred. Will final exams take place during scheduled class time in that week after Thanksgiving, or will there be a separate final exam time?
Right. So it's this regular schedule. So it's the first thing you said. It is not that final exam schedule that we have in a normal term. So is that clear? This is a great question, and I want to make sure.
So to be very clear, final exams will take place during scheduled class time the week after Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then what does a student do if, again, they've got a day where there's 4 final exams scheduled? What should they do?
If a student has more than 3 comprehensive final exams on a given day, the student should talk to the individual faculty to see where there's some flexibility. And if the student can find no flexibility in talking to the faculty, the student should call the dean's office of the student's academic major. So if you're majoring in business, call the dean's office of W.P. Carey. Or if you're majoring in art, call the dean's office of the Herberger Institute and explain your situation, and they will help you find some flexibility with that schedule.
Okay. Cass, back to you for this one. Do students need to move out of their rooms over winter break?
They do not. So the answer to that question is no.
Okay. Dorms will not close. Dorms will be open, and students can stay if they need to.
Absolutely.
Okay. Fred, this one's for you. ASU Sync will allow for, this person wants to confirm that ASU Sync will allow for the student to choose whether they want to participate in person or remotely.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. Cass, coming your way. Will there continue to be limitations on having visitors in the dorm rooms?
Again, I think that's a great question, and I certainly understand why our families or our students are asking that. We'll continue to monitor the situation. It's too early to tell now what the situation will be with the virus in January or in the spring semester. Our plans are always to monitor everything closely and then to make the best informed decision with the information we have at that particular point in time. So while our goal, as we've been sharing, is to continue to have in-person experiences, immersion experiences, we want our students to be able to have guests and so forth like that, we will make those decisions as we get closer to that time.
Great. Fred, this one is for you. ASU says there were in-person classes offered, but no in-person options were offered to my student for the fall semester. Will more professors be returning to campus to teach live in the spring?
Yes, that's a multi-part question. So let me break that question apart. Yes, we will see more faculty teaching on campus in the spring. Second, with your son's schedule, there are There are certain majors that just tend to have larger classes. And as I said before, and classes over 115 are remote. So what I would encourage you, your student to do, or any student to do, is make an appointment with your academic advisor, sit down with your advisor and figure out how you can build a schedule that does offer in-person options. So in that, the schedule now is set. So we're not going to be making last minute changes in that schedule. So you can look at your schedule now and see what kind of schedule you can build to maximize in-person opportunities.
Okay. Regarding testing for spring semester, can students move in while waiting for the test? Cass?
So the answer to that is yes. We are certainly going to be asking and encouraging our students that are local, that may have left for the winter break, that are staying with family, but that are local, to test prior to their moving back into the residential halls. Our students who are continuing to stay with us during the winter break, we're going to ask them to continue to participate in all of our health protocols and guidelines that we've put out already. And then our students who will be coming back, we will be asking them to test immediately, pretty quickly. And this is part of the details that we're still finalizing, that we'll be sharing to our residential students. And this goes to the point that we've made earlier. We're here to manage our circumstances and situation. And so we'll be working with our students within our residential halls to manage those situations and then support students as needed.
Okay. What is the rationale behind having everything remote after Thanksgiving? Was it because of the flu season? Fred, you want to take that one?
Yeah, actually, the flu did play a big part. We wanted to make sure that we ended the semester safely, successfully, that students stayed on track to graduation. And so that was to consolidate and conclude the fall semester on December 4th.
Okay. Let's see here. What is the deadline to receive a refund for housing for the spring semester? Cass, can you speak to that?
So our deadline has passed because our students signed their housing agreement with us for a full academic year. So our students at this point in time are with us. For the spring semester, if somebody has a specific question about their situation, then again, I would ask them to contact our housing department and or contact the Dean of Students, and then we'll be able to work with them on an individual basis.
One individual is indicating that they're going to be moving back to their hometown during winter break, and it's about an 8-hour drive from their home to the ASU campus. If they test positive, before coming back to campus, are they going to be denied university housing?
No, they won't be denied. Again, I would want to talk, if that student is 8 hours away, we're going to ask them to test on campus. That's going to be the goal for us. So for that student who's 8 hours away, they'll more likely move in and then test as soon as they move in. Right. And if they find out that they test positive upon that result, then we will work with them as we do currently at any point in time when a student tests positive.
Right. Similar question, will spring testing require out-of-state students to find another place to stay while they're waiting for test results?
Again, that will not be the case for the spring semester.
Okay.
So student will be able to move in, but then test immediately upon move in. So those details are forthcoming, but great questions.
Okay, good. Fred, any idea whether or not there's going to be a greater emphasis on making more STEM classes available in person this spring?
Yeah, we're trying actually across the board to make more classes available in person. With many of the science classes, the lectures are large lectures. And so the lecture part would be remote, but the lab or recitation, we're trying to maximize in-person opportunities there.
Okay. Fred, another one for you. Can international students who've just secured their F1 visas attend remotely for spring as well?
Yeah, but I would encourage all international students to reach out to our International Student and Scholar Center because the questions get very, very specific and they're very individualized. So I would be caution against just general platitudes with our international students. And I would say get the personalized, individualized information you need related to your visa. And I don't know if we are able to, I think most international students do know how to reach out to the International Student and Scholar Center, but they can reach out to any one of us and we can easily connect them with that office.
Okay. Another housing question. I think this is a parent asking whether or not students other than freshmen can live on campus. And specifically, they have a question about the downtown campus. So this individual has a student who's going to be a junior in the fall of 2021 and is wondering if on-campus housing will still be available to that student.
Sure. So the answer is yes. Upperclassmen student can live on campus. Now, to the second part of that is where is that housing available, depending on where our students currently are. It may or may not be exactly where they want it to be. So for that family member, I would say, again, contact the Dean of Students Office or housing so we could be specific and see if there's an assignment available for your student specifically on the downtown campus.
Okay. Another housing question. If a student is moving into the residence halls for the first time in the spring, is their family going to be allowed to help them move in?
It is going to be the same thing. We're going to ask our students to probably carry their stuff in if they're guests. I don't know if we've made a final decision about guests for new student spring move-in. So let me pause on that because I would rather our families have the most accurate information with that particular question. And what I will tell you is all of our new students moving into the residential halls for the spring semester, they will receive direct communication about their move-in process, their roommate information that they'll be able to get on their housing portal as well. And they'll be able to receive specific direct information that pertains to them. So for that family member who will be new to the hall for the spring semester, let us get that specific information to you.
Okay, great. Let's see here. One individual is asking about a specific case relative to her daughter who's been meeting with an academic advisor for some of questions related to the fall semester and is just having trouble getting the right answers. She's wondering if there's somebody else that she can escalate with. Fred, is there somebody that we can point this individual to?
Me.
All right, Fred, give him your email address.
Or yeah, provost@asu.edu.
Okay, there we go. Let's see here. One individual is just asking for clarification. Are they going to need 2 tests before they move back into the residence hall? So one before they come back for move-in and then one on campus. Can you clarify that, Cass?
Sure. We are asking right now our students to take one test within a window of time, which will send out that specific detail before the first day of classes. For students who may be returning after the first day of classes because of their schedule, then they'll be asked to test immediately upon their return. And again, the finer details of what that looks like will be shared out. So there's one test at this time that we are asking our students to take before the first day of classes if they're living in the residential halls. And let me just take this opportunity to reemphasize, we want our students to take advantage of testing all the time. It is free to them. It is available to them on campus. So for those folks who are planning to leave for the winter break, we understand you want the clarity with regards to what it will look like for the spring with regards to moving back into the halls. But for folks who are not leaving or who are local, and even after you come back, we are please encouraging everybody to continue to test on a regular schedule.
Okay. Another question is about when gyms and dorms such as Tucker House are going to open up. Do you have any information on that, Cass?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're monitoring it. Again, we're working with our Maricopa County health officials in making an informed decision with regards to that. We want to be upfront. We know that, while our numbers are staying steady, To a certain degree, we know the numbers are changing in our state and our community around us. So we are just continually monitoring all of that in order to make the decision. So for right now, there are no plans at this moment to open those particular spaces, but it is something that we're hopeful we will be able to do in the spring. That is our intent.
Okay. Another campus housing question. Is spring housing still going to be based on a student's major?
So that is a great question, and that will be our first desire, is to have a first-year student live in the community and within their residential college. But again, that is based on room availability and what the specific needs of the student may be. So while that is our first priority, it may not be the outcome depending on other factors for the spring semester.
Okay. And then a question from a parent about what's going to be available food-wise for Thanksgiving. Her son is sticking around campus and lives in off-campus housing, but close to campus, and is wondering what's going to be available food for Thanksgiving. Cass, can you talk about your plan?
Sure. So, we've got a couple of great units at our university that help plan for this. And so we have our off-campus housing actually community that plans a Thanksgiving takeout meal for folks. Our ASU family will be sending out information about Thanksgiving meals. So if you are not already plugged into our ASU family newsletter, then I encourage you to do that, because we'll be sending out information through there and to our students about what's going to be available for Thanksgiving.
Okay. And then we've got time for maybe one or two more. Cass, oh, go ahead.
Katie, I was going to just go back. I have great colleagues that I'm working with. And so for that family who has a new student moving in with us in the spring semester, we're going to ask you to comply with all of our health protocols and limit number of guests. So 2 individuals to help your student move into the residential hall, but face coverings will be required. We're asking you, obviously, if you're not feeling well, to not participate in that activity or not come into the residential hall. So I wanted to clarify that for that family who was asking us earlier.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'm sticking with you, Cass. Do you know if basketball courts and tennis courts are going to be open for student use this spring?
For this spring, yeah, again, that's one that we're continuing to monitor. I know that if for our students who have been on campus, they've probably seen this in the rec center. For us to have enough spacing for all of the equipment that students are utilizing, we've actually put that equipment on our basketball courts so that they could use that on a regular basis. So our basketball courts are not available because we have our fitness equipment on the basketball courts to allow for the 6 foot of physical distancing and so forth like that. So if we continue to maintain these particular practices of 6 feet of physical distancing, then there is a likelihood that those specific spaces within our rec centers will not be open, because we're providing a different service in that space for our students to utilize.
Okay. All right. Well, we are just about out of time. I want to thank all of our webinar participants for tuning in today. If your question wasn't answered through the live Q&A discussion, we will follow up with you separately. I know we have teams of individuals who've actually been answering questions as they come in. So we appreciate your participation. And again, if your question didn't get answered, we'll follow up with you. And you can always email deanofstudents@asu.edu, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. I want to thank our webinar panelists as well. Cass, Fred, and Quinlan, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to visit with our Sun Devil community. And we're very excited about wrapping up the fall semester successfully, having a really, really fun innovation week and innovation quarter over the winter break, and then coming back really strong for the spring semester. So thanks, everybody. Again, we will post this webinar on our spring 2021 page shortly, and we'll be hosting future webinars, so stay tuned. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everybody.